Jimin breaks down in tears. Solo tour cancelled as he chooses Jungkook instead. ARMY left speechless in a moment that left the K-pop industry breathless. Park Jimin, one of the most enigmatic forces in global music, has made a decision so unexpected, so deeply personal, that even the most seasoned observers are struggling to process its magnitude. Jimin has officially cancelled his anticipated solo world tour to prioritize an emotional, intimate project with fellow BTS member Jungkook. And he did it while crying in Jungkook's arms. What does it mean when a global superstar, standing on the precipice of a solo career explosion, walks away, not in defeat, but in silent, tear-stained conviction? What could possibly move an artist of Jimin's caliber to abandon months, perhaps years, of preparation? And why now? Behind closed doors, something seismic has been building. For months, speculation had been rampant. The post-Muse silence. The notable absence at Jin's heart-wrenching solo concert in London. The strange gaps in his social media activity. Fans whispered theories, mental health, contract renegotiations, secret collaborations. But nothing prepared them for the emotional weight behind the truth. Sources close to hybe have confirmed that the reason for Jimin's sudden withdrawal from solo tour preparations was not burnout, nor strategic marketing delays. It was Jungkook, more specifically, a joint global tour with Jungkook, titled tentatively Two of Us, planned quietly behind the scenes since early 2023. A tour built not just on music, but on brotherhood, on shared wounds, on unspeakable emotions forged through fame, trauma, healing, and above all, loyalty. The rumors, once brushed off as fan fantasies, have now crystallized into something far more compelling. Something that feels inevitable. Jimin's tears, reportedly shed during an emotionally charged rehearsal session with Jungkook, were not of sorrow, but of release. Witnesses describe a moment of profound vulnerability, Jimin embracing Jungkook in the dimly lit studio, both artists overwhelmed as a single piano note echoed in the background.
No cameras.
No fans. Just two friends, two survivors, holding onto each other as the weight of their next chapter settled on their shoulders. This was not performance. It was confession. Industry insiders describe Two of Us as more than a concert series. It's a narrative, a reckoning, a vocal exploration of the years both men have endured since BTS began its group hiatus. And if early reports are accurate, it will redefine the very concept of a duo tour. The clues were always there, hidden in plain sight. In the early summer, eagle-eyed fans noticed subtle, coded posts from both Jimin and Jungkook. Jungkook's cryptic live stream where he dodged questions about future tours, humming melodies eerily similar to tracks from Muse. Jimin's heavily curated social media photos, laced with motifs of return, reflection, and duality. The sudden disappearance of his tattoo. The quiet walks in Seoul parks. The calculated silence when others were making noise. None of it was coincidence. Now we know, Jimin wasn't preparing to return alone. He was waiting for Jungkook. Why did he walk away from a solo world tour that would have catapulted him into even greater superstardom? Because he didn't want to shine alone. He wanted to heal together. The emotional stakes are higher than anything the BTS fandom has witnessed since the group's hiatus. And unlike previous releases, this is not driven by commercial goals. It's driven by something far more powerful, the need to tell the truth through harmony. Imagine it. The lights dimming across a global stage. A single spotlight illuminating Jungkook's silhouette, his haunting vocals introducing a stripped-down version of Still With You. Then Jimin's falsetto cutting through the dark, piercing and pure, answering not just with melody, but with history. Every note a confession. Every beat, a heartbeat. This is not mere performance. This is therapy. Two of Us is said to chronicle not just their musical journey, but the emotional scars they've carried. From early dorm days as roommates, to surviving burnout and disillusionment, to grieving the temporary dissolution of BTS as a unified group. This tour will not present them as idols. It will present them as humans. Why didn't hybe announce it earlier? Perhaps because this isn't a rollout. It's a revelation. The label, known for its theatrical launches and emotional storytelling, seems to be letting the silence speak. Letting the fans uncover the breadcrumbs, because the story is stronger when discovered, not declared. And Jimin's absence from Jin's London concert? Painful, but calculated. A deliberate omission to make his eventual return all the more powerful. Because now, when he steps on stage next, it won't be alone. It will be with Jungkook.
Side by side.
Voice to voice. Story to story. The emotional blueprint for the tour appears to be rooted in their shared history, their quiet support of one another over a decade in the public eye. From tearful confessions in documentaries, to late-night song recordings, to the fierce, unspoken loyalty that has long been the undercurrent of their bond, Jungkook, despite achieving staggering success as a soloist, has remained curiously inactive in recent months. No official announcements.
No upcoming solo album.
No red carpet appearances. At first, fans feared the worst. Now they understand. He wasn't drifting. He was anchoring. Waiting, the silence of both artists is no longer void. It is context, as fan theories flood platforms like Twitter and Weverse. Phrases like Jikook Tour 2026 and Two of Us trend daily. Fan-made posters, emotional tribute videos, and deep dives into past performances like We Don't Talk Anymore and Christmas Love are resurrecting long-dormant emotions. The fandom is feeling again. And that's the point. It's not about reliving the past. It's about confronting it and transforming it into something beautiful. Behind the scenes, unnamed sources hint at a scale of production that rivals the likes of Coldplay and Beyoncé. Immersive stages, 360-degree visuals, real-time emotional storytelling. One director rumored to be involved is known for designing concerts that blend cinema, confession, and catharsis. If true, Two of Us is not just a show. It's a redefinition of what a K-pop duo can be. Timing, too, is everything. With BTS's full group enlistment cycle completing by late 2025, the proposed launch in spring 2026 would serve as both a reunion and a rebirth. It is not just a comeback. It is a response to the hiatus, to the heartbreak, to the evolution of identity. Jin's London performance was a love letter to fans. Two of Us could be a love letter to each other. Jimin and Jungkook are not just the youngest members of BTS. They are its emotional bookends, the most reserved, the most introspective, and now, perhaps, the most ready to speak. Their silence has been painful, but deliberate. Because this time, the story had to be right. And Jimin, always the emotional compass of the group, needed time to prepare. Not just musically, but emotionally. Because this tour is not a comeback for the charts. It's a homecoming for the heart. Every step taken in recent months suddenly carries weight. Every disappearance was an act of preparation. Every unspoken word was a verse waiting to be sung. And when the tour finally begins, if it does, expect nothing short of emotional reckoning. Because this is not just Jimin's return. It's a resurrection. So, what happens next? Nobody knows for certain. But one thing is clear, Jimin does not cry without cause. And Jungkook does not wait without reason. The silence is over. The story begins now, and if you're not watching, you're already too late. The truth behind Jimin's decision, fact, fiction, or fabrication. The line between reality and sensationalism begins to blur in the midst of mounting anticipation and explosive emotions surrounding Jimin's sudden cancellation of his solo tour to reportedly prioritize a joint world tour with Jungkook. A far more pressing question now demands our collective attention. Is this all real? Or are we witnessing a meticulously orchestrated narrative designed to manipulate perception, harvest virality, and monopolize media engagement at any cost? The very intensity of public reaction, coupled with the mysterious and poetic symbolism of Jimin's recent actions, tears, disappearances, cryptic visuals, and ambiguous lyrics, presents a scenario almost too perfect, too cinematic, too emotionally choreographed to exist without deliberate intent? Are we truly seeing a raw, unfiltered expression of human vulnerability and artistic kinship? Or are we, willingly or unknowingly, participating in a cycle of media exploitation and digital theater? This is not an accusation. It is a call to reason. We must ask, why now? Why this story? Why in this exact form, with this exact emotional cadence, with this exact level of ambiguity and implication? Could it be coincidence that every post, every silence, every tear coincides so perfectly with the growing hunger for BTS content during the group's hiatus? Could the whispers on Twitter and Weverse, the speculative TikTok theories, and the YouTube breakdowns be more than harmless fan engagement? Might they be elements of a larger mechanism, a machine designed not to inform, but to stir, provoke, and manipulate? It is a legitimate possibility that cannot be ignored. Certainly, the details appear grounded in patterns. Jimin has indeed remained unusually silent since Muse, a project that was, by all industry accounts, intended to herald the beginning of his solo era. The absence from Jin's emotionally devastating London performance was indeed conspicuous. Jungkook, for all his previous momentum, has also receded from the global spotlight. These facts are not fiction, but the interpretations drawn from these patterns, especially the claim that their shared silence signals a coming tour, are not, by any standard, confirmed truths. Let us not forget, the internet is a breeding ground for conjecture dressed as certainty. So, who truly benefits from this narrative? Is it the fans, who are left clinging to a hope they may not have consented to generate? Is it the artists themselves, who may be unfairly scrutinized for intentions they have not yet articulated? Or is it the platforms, the algorithmic engines, the speculative content creators who stand to gain the most from every click, every retweet, every analysis video dissecting Jimin's latest eyebrow raise or Jungkook's sudden smirk? It is worth questioning whether we, the public, are being offered truth, or whether we are being fed a carefully timed sequence of emotional bait. This moment. No official statement has been released. Not from Jimin, not from Jungkook, not from their management. What we have are fragmented digital artifacts, fleeting mentions, emotionally charged visuals, and secondhand, insider sources that, while compelling, remain unverifiable. And so, we must pause. Not in dismissal, but in discernment. Ask yourself this. Would you be able to distinguish between a spontaneous, authentic artistic decision and a strategically executed media campaign? Have we, as a digital society, become so immersed in the language of parasocial attachment, of idol mythology, that we no longer differentiate between the artist's voice and the fandom's projection? The emotional gravity of the narrative cannot be overstated. The image of Jimin weeping in Jungkook's arms is powerful. It evokes empathy, longing, and a deep sense of poetic justice. But where is the evidence? Has such a moment been documented, confirmed, or even hinted at in a way that passes basic journalistic scrutiny? Or are we shaping this story from the desire to believe it exists? This is not cynicism. It is necessary skepticism that we live in an era where content is king and attention is currency. Emotional virality is no longer accidental. It is engineered. Therefore, every viral fan theory, every meticulously edited fan video, and every speculative article must be read not only for what it says, but for why it is being said, and by whom. Did I ask the story of Jimin and Jungkook's joint tour a product of truth, or of algorithmic precision? Let us consider the nature of the sources cited in relation to this narrative. The origins of the Two of Us tour rumor trace back to loosely attributed posts on social media platforms. Some originate from fan accounts with a history of speculation rather than confirmation. Others emerge from deleted posts, unverifiable screenshots, and TikTok comment threads layered in vague references and emotional conjecture. Even if emotionally persuasive, such data cannot serve as the foundation for unquestioned belief. Yet, it does. The question is, why? What compels us to accept emotionally resonant stories with minimal scrutiny? Is it the human need for closure, for emotional resolution during times of collective uncertainty, such as the BTS hiatus? Or is it the seductive nature of narrative symmetry, the idea that after separation comes reunion, that after silence comes music, that after pain comes healing? These are deeply human desires, but they are not proof. Let us also confront the media ecosystem that perpetuates this ambiguity. Outlets and influencers are incentivized to escalate every whisper into a headline. Engagement equals profit. And the more dramatic the story, the more profound the emotional stakes, the more traffic it attracts. We are not just consuming media, we are being consumed by it. What responsibility do platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter bear when they amplify rumors beyond proportion? Are they merely neutral spaces for discourse, or are they shaping the discourse itself through curated visibility and algorithmic manipulation? And perhaps more importantly, do you, as the reader, still feel in control of your interpretation? Or have you surrendered it to the rhythm of collective assumption? This is not a condemnation of fandom. On the contrary, it is a recognition of its power. The global BTS fandom is one of the most organized, passionate, and emotionally intelligent communities in the world. But even the most devoted supporters must be wary of confirmation bias, the tendency to see only that which affirms pre-existing hope. Hope is beautiful, but truth demands more. So now, we urge you, every reader, every fan, every participant in this unfolding phenomenon, to reflect deeply and honestly. Do you believe that Jimin canceled a global solo tour to emotionally prioritize a project with Jungkook? What proof has truly been presented to you, and what emotions have colored your perception of that proof? Could this story, as compelling as it is, be a byproduct of emotional hunger in a fandom long starved for unity? Are we placing unfair emotional expectations on artists who may simply be trying to navigate their careers privately and most uncomfortably? Are we complicit in turning artists into characters in a story they did not consent to tell? This is the moment to pause, to scrutinize not just the content, but the context, to demand more than emotion, to seek verification, to uphold truth, and to resist the pull of viral unreality disguised as revelation. As this story continues to evolve, and as more fragments, real or imagined, continue to surface across TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and other speculative platforms, we must retain one foundational principle: belief is not truth. Emotion is not evidence. Speculation is not journalism. Let this article serve not as an affirmation of fact, but as an invitation to interrogation. As you share, comment, and discuss, do so with intention. Question every headline. Cross-reference every source. Recognize the difference between storytelling and truth-telling. Because in an age where sensationalism wears the mask of sincerity, the line between fact and fiction is drawn not by the media, but by your discernment. Jimin may indeed be preparing something monumental with Jungkook. But until confirmation arrives, not from whispers, not from edited fan videos, not from manipulated algorithms, but from the artists themselves, this remains a story. A powerful one, but a story nonetheless. And every story demands one final question. Do you believe because it is true, or because you want it to be? The answer may define not just how we view this moment, but how we navigate the truth in every narrative moving forward. In the wake of emotion, a final plea for discernment. And now, as the conversation intensifies and the global fandom divides between belief and skepticism, one last pressing layer remains. Are we equipped, as modern consumers of information, to distinguish between emotional resonance and empirical reality? When narratives are this compelling, when the stakes are this high, and when the people involved are this beloved, objectivity becomes increasingly fragile, almost impossible to hold. The public response to this unfolding situation, whether on TikTok threads dissecting every frame of a Jungkook livestream, or on Twitter timelines debating the symbolism in Jimin's curated Instagram posts, reveals not just fascination, but desperation. A desperation to believe in something meaningful during a time of creative uncertainty, both for the artists and their fans. But where there is emotional vulnerability, there is also room for distortion. Let us ask again, with full gravity, has any formal document, official schedule, or public confirmation been provided to support the claim that Jimin has canceled a global solo tour to perform with Jungkook?
No.
Instead, what we are witnessing is a culmination of digital fragments, emotional readings, and speculative conclusions forming the illusion of truth. This does not mean the story is false, but it certainly is not confirmed. Thus, the burden now shifts, not to the artists, not to the management, but to us, the consumers. Are we critically assessing the information placed before us? Or are we allowing digital momentum to think for us? There is danger in believing too quickly. There is danger in trusting without verification. If this alleged tour, this whispered emotional reunion, does come to pass, let it be celebrated for what it is, not what we imagined it to be. But if it does not materialize, will the emotional investment we've already made be weaponized against the very artists we claim to protect? Because therein lies the risk, the betrayal of our own expectations. Not because the artists misled us, but because we refuse to ask the hard questions. The discourse must evolve. It must move beyond hope and into accountability. We must challenge ourselves to pause, to wait, and to listen, not just to the loudest voices, but to the silence in between. This is a call for intellectual integrity in an era of emotional overload. We urge you, step back, observe, reflect, interrogate your reactions. Consider what evidence you've truly seen and how much of what you believe is rooted in feeling, not fact. In conclusion, we reiterate, this story, as powerful and poetic as it is, remains unverified. It has emerged from digital platforms, fragmented content, and emotionally driven interpretation. Whether it is real or not, whether it will be confirmed or not, is not the point of this reflection. The point is to remind you, urgently and unequivocally, that truth must be earned, not assumed, not felt, not imagined. What will you choose to believe?
And why?
The answer is yours alone.